Welcome to my speech, Everything We Know About Steam Benchmarks. Today we are going to talk about Steam sales, how we can predict it, how we can make wise data-driven decisions on Steam. Please raise your hands if you're a developer or a publisher on Steam. Yeah, oh, that's great. Please raise your hand if you are going to self-publish your game on Steam. Oh yeah, that's a very wise decision, guys. And the third question is raise your hand if you are looking for new niches on Steam, or you are trying to make a decision which game you want to develop as the next game. Yeah, great. Okay, so great. Today I'm going to show you how you can predict the sales for unreleased game on Steam and based on the publicly available information. So just a moment, I need to... Okay, so my name is Artem Korovkin. I'm a founder of Futugama. We are a developer of a PC and console game on Steam and console. So we focus on cooperative games. I'm also a former business director of in the Dark Crystal Games. We developed in case. This is a huge isometric RPG published by Koch Media. And I'm a co-creator of a useful tool for Steam developers called steamlikes.com. These tools help developers understand which games recommend your games on Steam. So for the last 5 years, I have been working in the PC games. So the topic of statistics and analytics on Steam is very close to me. And my friend Pavel Shestakov, is developer of SceneSlash, one of our projects, decided to make some tool to understand which games what games recommend his game on Steam. And we've noticed that that as soon as Steam SceneSlash gets into a selection game, into similar games in genre on Steam, it receives more wish lists, so it's very obvious. And we decided to make this tool public. It's how it was created. It's how Steam Likes was born. So it must be said that statistics and analytics are not the strongest part of the Steam. So many, looks like on Steam Analytics. So there's a bunch of different services. This provides different information, and many developers act blindly or rely on unreliable information from these tools. So, and that's why I recommend all the developers to master the basics techniques to allow you to estimate your sales and predict them from genre in games that haven't been released yet. And that if the analytics is not the strongest part in the Steam, how we can handle with any benchmarks. So we should say the huge thank you to this guy. His name is Simon Karras. He is a founder of a Game Discovery Co. Is some consulting agency in the game development business. Also, he's an author on a game development newsletter. And if you are not signed up yet, you should do it right now. And he provides us with a huge development service where he collects information about games on Steam from the developers. And this is a base for all information about how different games sells on Steam, how many wishlists it has, and more. So I recommend you to subscribe right now. So let's get started. So the first and the most popular method, and everybody should know that. So, to estimating sales on Steam is based on the number of the reviews. This is the most common method and the easiest one used by many developers. So this is a connection between number of sales and the amount of the reviews. So, and from the development service, we can that happened a couple of years ago. We can say that each review will give us about 38 sales. For example, if our game has about 600 reviews, it will give us about 25k units. As we can see, these numbers changing from time to time. So it happens because the number of reviews is growing. This happens because Steam has some interface improvements and ask users to write a review for games. So we need to take it into account in our calculations. So if you know yes, so the next, but the very wise question, if you know the number of the reviews, how we can say what's the amount of the sales if the game doesn't have reviews, the game haven't been released yet. So today I'm going to show you how we can predict sales for the game that haven't been released yet. Just a moment, I need to check my notes. Okay, so the essential metric that we need here is the number of the wish list. So the more wish lists, there is a connection between wish list and sales. And the more wish lists you have, the more you have sales will be. We have gathered a lot of information from the developer service, and we can surely say that every wish list will give us about 0.2 sales, or other words, the conversion from the wish list to sale will be 20%. It could be vary from genre to genre, from different games and audience, but it's a median for all games. And for example, if we have 40k wish lists, it will give us about 8k sales for the first week after the release. It turns out that by knowing the number of wish lists, we can predict the sales and the income from the first week after release. But the number of wish lists is secret information, which is only available for the developers and for Valve. And thanks for development service, we can estimate the number of wish lists by with publicly available information. This is a followers number, which everyone can see. Who are the followers? So the followers are users who have subscribed to updates about your game. So there's people who really like the game and wants to receive all the information about your game before the release to their Steam hub, to their Steam community newsletter feed, community feed. And there is the connection between the numbers of followers and the number of wish lists. And thanks to developer service, we can say that each follower equals about 10 wish lists. That is that one out of 10 who added the game to the wish list are signed up for updates. So if a game has has about 4k followers, so we can say that it's about 40k wishlist there. And this is very handy thing to be informed how a game is good on Steam or not. Obviously, for example, so it's very you can take into account that here can be some exceptions. For example, our previous project, Encased, has a Kickstarter campaign, and the number of followers was much more than in other games, so you can take it into account. So how do I get information about followers? Maybe you know that site, steamdb.com. It's a super handy site with a lot of useful information on Steam, such as followers, and we can see in the chart how it changed time to time with this useful infographic. So, another handy thing that you can install the SteamDB extension to your browser in Chrome and some very popular browsers. So you can install this extension, and the number of followers will be appeared on the Steam page, so in the bottom right corner. Okay, so let's do math. We have 4,000 followers. So it says that it's about 40K wishlist, and we know that 20% of wishlist is our sales for the first week after the release. Everyone who is experienced in math can say that if you know just a moment, if you know only followers, we can calculate the sales. So we don't need to calculate the wish list first, and indeed we can. So in my example, this figure is about 1.92, but you need to be careful here and use magic very carefully outside Hogwarts, because it's very the figure can vary from genre to genre, from different audience, from game to game. Okay, so now we know how many sell in the first week. Our sales the first week after release, but how we can predict first year sales based on that data, and thanks to the developer service we can. So the first year sales is triple of the week first sales. So for example, if we sell in the first week 8K units, it will give us 24K units for the first year. Let's do math once again. So every upside numbers are the same. So we need to multiply first week sales for 3, and it will give us 24K units for the first week. And if we multiply it for a retail price for our game, we will receive a gross revenue, and so it's very obvious. And we need to understand what we will receive, but it's not that number which will send that to our bank account. So we need to understand how we can calculate the net revenue of our product. And this is number of 55. So it's net revenue is about 55% of gross revenue. So net revenue is cut, gross revenue minus taxes, Steam cut, and refunds and our deductions. And for example, of our game, so it's for $10K, so we need to multiply it. So it's 55% of that is net sales. last time math, I promise. So if our first year sales is about 24k units, and we multiply it for a retail price, you get the gross revenue and 55% of that. So in my example is 265,000 per year. So with a pretty good result. So here's all these benchmarks that I used in my presentation. And now, knowing this information, we can predict our sales or other games. So not only our games, so it's any games on Steam. We can estimate the sales of entire niches and take a more balanced approach, for example, to make a decision of starting developing some games. So things you need to do today. So you should subscribe to the Game Discovery newsletter. So here's a very easy way to do it. It's a link, direct link to do that. So you should write these benchmarks and watch how they how this benchmark changes from time to time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yay. Very good presentation. Lots of math, but at least it's really valuable.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Yep. Great. I see some questions.
Hello. Thank you for your presentation. Could you show the slide where you talked about gross revenue?
Sure.
Here.
Yeah, here.
Yeah. Oh no, previous. Yeah, here. Does it mean that price isn't important here? So I can put any price and just increase my gross revenue because I decided to make not $2 but $50 and
yeah, but yeah, depends on what price you use. It depends on what revenue you receive. So yes.
Do you have any maybe you know any like curve about or any rate depending on price? So for
you
example,
mean total sales depending on price?
Yes, for example, for $2 it's 20%. For $5 is 15%, and etc.
Correlation between sales and prices.
Yes.
Oh, so it's a very good question, and if you are going to do that, so to make this correlation, you'll be a superstar in the game development industry. So it's nobody knows. So basically, on Steam for developers, there's some few categories of prices. So if you're, for example, indie developer, you should make a 20. So it's about $20 per unit is a base price, so it's not a regional price, so it's like a base price. Maybe so. For example, in my from my perspective of view, when we try to make base price lower than this, so than 20, it was just a very big mistake. So it's better to make a discount in the future. If you want to boost your sales, than to underestimate your price in the very beginning.
Okay, thank you.
Any other question in the audience?
Yeah. Hello. Thank you for the presentation. Really great newsletter. It's really rare that someone publishes some information about Steam, aside of Steam Dev, of course. So what would you recommend for the situation when you want to blend two subgenres, for example, into one game, and how you may predict the results? For example, we want, I'm just like imagining, that we want to combine roguelike with side-scrolling beat 'em up, and in the end of the day we have that side, that space.
Yeah, I think I got the question.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I assume that the better way is to find some game that's very close to your prototype, to your idea, and try to estimate their sales. So it's if you want to summarize some different niches and to make some, for example, something very crazy, some I don't know, some action, Uber, I don't know, with social deduction mechanics. So it's very very hard to predict what will be your car audience on Steam and what will be. So it's a car for your game. So it's easiest way is to find the closest game for your idea.
Okay, thanks.
Anyone else?
Hi, really nice talk, thank you. I wonder if you have any data on really niche games like that are not average games that tend to like entire Steam audience, but like Shenzhen IO, like very niche ones, some I don't know dungeon crawlers, really that type of stuff games. Because my understanding is that such games should have higher ratio of wish list to sales because of the niche genre, but lower gross revenue maybe something like that. Maybe you have some data on that.
Yes, so it's thank you for your question. So I forgot to point some important thing there about wishlist. So if we talk about influence for the conversion, so it's very important how this wishlist was achieved. So if you want, for example, if you doing some giveaway or something like this, trying to receive wishlist, no matter how it happened, the conversion will be lower. But this is the medium from all games on Steam, not all games, from the developers who participated in this survey, and so if some of them have a much upper this conversion rate from wishlist to sales, yes, but I don't think that it depends on a genre. I think that it depends on the core audience of this game. So I mean, if your core audience added your game to the wish list, so only your core audience. I mean, so the conversion rate will be much higher.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you again. I have one more question. Do you have any rates or the same useful information about not paid game but free-to-play game?
No, free-to-play games. So it's like
Understood.
It's very hard to say about conversion rate from wishlist to sales in free-to-play games, and from followers to sales. So then in free-to-play games, so our goal is not to achieve only one purchase. Our goal to receive some enough purchases from time to time. So it doesn't work here, unfortunately.
Or maybe you have any information about, for example, not free-to-play game, but free-to-play game with DLC?
No, because it's not transparent on Steam.
Okay.
But we can use here this from reviews to sales ratio. But better to check this link. Here's some additional topic about free-to-play games, and yes, we can estimate some users from the number of the reviews.
Thank you.
So the ratio will be other, yeah.
Hi, thank you for your presentation. Do you use results of hardware surveys to predict any results?
No, we don't use. We use hardware benchmarks to when we are going to where we are going to develop the game. So our goal is to make a game for a more wide audience. So yeah, so it's not about sales; it's about audience here. And so my opinion that we need to make games for 95% of Steam users or something like this.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much for all your questions. We are actually done by time. We have a next presentation coming. So thank you very much once again
Thank you
for your
for attention.
nice work. Cool.